Case file, The Dustwalkers. Entry 9. Observer 15989666920. Location, the catacombs in the void balcony. Subject, Target Bravo, Trixie. Target Delta, Arthur. New target, Athinganos. Day 3. The reunion. The sewers eventually spat them out. They regrouped in a damp antechamber, the air thick with the smell of wet fur and stale magic. Suna and Stallard found their way back to the main group. They looked ragged, but whole. There were nods, a few clasped arms, the quiet relief of soldiers who expected to find only corpses. They didn't linger. They pushed through a passage behind the painter's room, stepping out onto a stone balcony that defied the ruin around it. Ornate, untouched, mocking. Day 3. The Ark. If there was light, the view would have been breathtaking. Instead, it was soul-crushing. Out in the void, a mile below, something passed. A pale blue light, massive beyond comprehension, drifted through the dark like a leviathan in the deep ocean. The Ark of Grief. It wasn't a ship. It was a floating continent of bone and sorrow. As its light washed over the balcony, I felt the cold in my marrow. The party shuddered in unison. I saw the hope drain out of them like blood from a severed artery. It's hard to fight when you see the size of the monster you're stuck in. Day 3. The bridge. The path forward was broken, a shattered staircase leading to nowhere. Suna stepped up, no tools, just whispers. She summoned a dark spirit from the ether, a shadow stretching across the gap. They tied a rope to the phantom limb and crossed. It was unnatural, walking on emptiness held up by a ghost, but it worked. Nobody fell. Day 3. The encampment. They found a heavy door, barred from the inside. Through the wood, the flicker of firelight and the murmur of voices. They didn't knock. They opened it. Inside, a squad of the Iron Brotherhood scrambled, spears lowered, shields up. 2 soldiers rushed the door, ready to spill blood. Then Helen spoke. Again. She didn't raise her hands, she just raised her voice. "We're travelers, just like you." The tension snapped. The sergeant lowered his weapon. They weren't enemies. They were just other rats in the trap. The soldiers shared their fire. They swapped stories and loot, the currency of the doomed. A new face emerged from the shadows of the camp. Athinganos. He spoke of survival, of druids and fungal folk setting up farms in the deep, growing food on the rot. It was a grim kind of hope. Sustainability in hell. Athinganos packed his kit. He was joining the circus. Day 3. The catacombs. They left the warmth of the fire and climbed a spiral staircase carved from obsidian, slick, sharp, and cold. It opened into a massive stone hall. The catacombs. Wall-to-wall sarcophagi, stacked like cordwood. The air was dry and smelled of dust that had once been people. Trixie. She couldn't help herself. She saw a lid. She saw potential loot. She reached for a sarcophagus. The stone didn't budge, but the noise woke the dead. Or worse, the caretakers. At the far end, 2 cultists emerged. Arthur didn't hide. He didn't flank. He strolled down the center aisle, knuckles wrapped, staring them down. Trixie moved with him. The cultist looked at Trixie, saw the fresh brand carved into her forehead by Orin, and ignored her. They focused on the cat. Chains shot out from the dark, binding Arthur to the floor. Day 3, the meat grinder. Chaos erupted. Suna and Athinganos, perhaps trying to create a distraction or just panicking, shoved the lid off another sarcophagus. The stone slab hit the floor with a thunderclap. Something sat up inside. It It wasn't a corpse. It was a curse wrapped in rags. It looked Athinganos in the eye, and I saw the man wither under the gaze. The fight that followed was a blur. I've seen skirmishes, but this was a frenzy. It was precision violence. I counted nearly 7 critical strikes in the span of a few heartbeats. Blades found gaps in armor that shouldn't exist. Magic hit with the force of a cannon. Arthur broke his chains. Suna wove shadows. Athinganos fought through the curse. But the cost was coming due. Day 3. The blaze. Trixie. The brand on her head didn't save her. The explosives in her pack didn't save her. She was volatile to the end. It was a blaze of glory that lit up the obsidian walls, blinding in the dark. A final defiant roar against the silence of the tomb. When the smoke cleared, she was gone. Note: target status updated. Deceased. Cause of death: excessive heroism. Day 3. The cavalry. The remaining party stood there staring at the scorch mark where their friend used to be. Then, the doors burst open. It wasn't spirits. It wasn't more cultists. It was the harvest. Druids, fungal folk, the farmers Athinganos spoke of, poured into the room like a landslide of moss and bark. They overran the remaining enemies, dragging the party back from the brink. They survived, but the cost of the ticket just went up.